Welcome everyone to WatchMock. My name is Phil Pasquarello. I'm the trial competition director at the Drexel University Thomas R Kline School of Law. And I'm joined today by a very special guest. If you didn't know who he was last week, you probably know him now. And in case you don't, why don't you tell them who you are?
Hi, everybody. My name is Bennett Demsky. I'm an undergraduate mock trial competitor at Tufts University.
So for those of you who don't, who were, I guess, living under a rock last week, last weekend was the trial by combat mock trial competition, which is the one-on-one competition that Drexel Kline partners to host with the UCLA School of Law, inspired by Baylor Law's Top Gun competition, which is the law school one-on-one competition that's been around for over a decade now. This was the fourth installment of that competition. We do it every June. And Bennett was in the final round of that competition and was our runner-up this past Sunday, just a couple of days ago. And so before we get into this, Bennett, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. First, thanks for having me on, Phil. I'm honored to be the guinea pig, the test run, guest number one. It's great to be here. I'm feeling good. I mean, it was a stressful 72 hours. I'm glad it's done. I was really happy to be there. It was a wonderful experience.
So Bennett says 72 hours because unlike most mock trial competitions and like the Top Gun competition, the competitors only get 24 hours to prepare. So they get the case on a Friday morning. They get 24 hours to prepare a plaintiff side. So all of their examinations, their speeches, a defense side, same thing. And then unlike the Top Gun competition, they actually have to prepare two witness portrayals. So the plaintiff's witness and the defense's witness. And so I guess my question for you, Bennett, before we get into this is, have you gotten any sleep? Have you been able to kind of recharge the batteries over the last 72 hours? How are you feeling fatigue-wise?
Yeah, I think I'm recharged. It was interesting too, because I barely slept during the weekend, of course, but the first night, like after the final, I thought I was just gonna be dead tired and sleep. I couldn't sleep. Like I went to bed at 4 a.m. I woke up at 8 o'clock. Like I couldn't, and my body hadn't like reset yet. But last night I got a lot of sleep. I'm feeling recharged, I think.
Yeah, it's been more than 3 years since the Top Gun final that I was in, and I still don't feel back to my normal self. So I would expect that it's going to take some time. So we're about to watch a part of that final round. Specifically, we're going to watch Bennett's cross-examination from that round of the defendant's owner. For those of the people that are watching who didn't get a chance to tune in for trial by combat this past weekend, why don't you give us a quick synopsis as to what the case was about?
Sure. So the case is Ethel Marks versus Sonny's Rooftop Bar. It's a dram shop action. Basically, the facts of the case is that a 19-year-old girl named Jessica Marks went to a bar, Sonny's Rooftop Bar, was served alcohol, was served too much alcohol. She got in her car, she drove away, she drove off the side of the road, and she died. And so the lawsuit being brought by her mother, Ethel, is a dram shop action against the bar, basically alleging that they served an obviously intoxicated minor, and those drinks caused her death. And so in this round, I'm the plaintiff. I'm representing Jessica Marks' mother, and suing the bar, of course. And Audrey who was wonderful. It was a fantastic final round. Audrey is such a good competitor. She's representing the defendant, the bar, and she's saying that actually it's not the bar's fault. It would, like, the girl, it's her own fault. She raised an affirmative defense, basically alleging that this girl carries the responsibility for her own death because she chose to get in her car and drive away.
So this was the final round of the competition. You had been in 4 preliminary rounds, 2 as an attorney, 2 as a witness, and then 2 playoff rounds. But so this was actually only the second time that you'd ever done the plaintiff side of the case. And I think my memory serves me correctly. Round 1 was the other time that you had done the plaintiff side. Am I right about that?
Round two.
Did you make any changes between round 2 and this round? Did you make any adjustments, understanding you were going to be facing Audrey? What changes did you make as it relates to this cross, if you remember?
No, so I mean, as it relates to the cross, I don't think I changed too much beforehand. I changed some stuff on the fly, which I think we'll talk about when we get into it. I definitely changed the cross up on the fly. But before the round, no, I mean, it's funny. Saturday night, we really focused on the defense because we knew we were going the defense in the morning. And then we were the defense in the semi. We wanted to go defense in the final, although we did really like our P case too. And then, like, before the final, you really don't have time because you're prepping the new witness. They added a new witness for Phil added a new witness for the final round, an expert toxicologist. So, my coach and I are writing a direct in 30 minutes. You don't really have time to prep the rest of it. But we changed some stuff around. Like we had a foundation issue on day one with one of the directs. So we swapped some stuff around.
So the witness that you cross-examined in this trial was the defendant's owner, portrayed by Ben Crosby from the trial by combat competitor from Patrick Henry College. Had you ever seen Ben play a witness before this? Did you know had you competed against Ben before this round?
So I had never seen Ben. I'd never competed in a round with Ben. I think that a Tufts team I wasn't on competed against Ben at some point last year. I'd never seen Ben before this weekend. I witnessed against him in round one. I was the bar owner that he's portraying here, and he was the sad witness whose like friend died, who was testifying about that night for the plaintiff. And I lost to Ben. It was the one round I lost besides the final. He's fantastic. I mean, he was an All-American witness in 2019, I want to say. So I knew going in, like it was going to be a tough battle against Ben because he's a real good witness.
So let's get into it. I'm sure, like you said, we're going to have lots to talk about as we watch, but I want to just get into this. And I think you told me off air that this is going to be your first time actually watching this back, and so I'm excited to get your unfiltered reactions to seeing this for the first time.
I'm excited to see what my unfiltered reactions are. Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I want to start by talking about what you served Jessica Marks and her friend.
Okay.
You just told us that when Jessica Marks left your bar, you had no idea she was intoxicated, right?
That's right. Based on what I saw, she did not seem drunk. No.
But throughout the whole night, you didn't see any signs of intoxication. That's what you claim, right?
That's right, sir.
Mr. Mehta, I want to be very clear for the members of the jury. You personally brought over 9 drinks worth of alcohol to Jessica Marks' table, right?
The table form, that sounds about right. Yes, sir.
Let's break that down, sir. You delivered Ms. Marks and her friend 2 shots with hard liquor in them?
The green tea shots. Yes, sir.
3 cans of hard seltzer?
That's right.
An entire bottle of wine?
Yes, decoy wine. That's right.
2 beers?
Yes.
Sir, you know.
So when you guys were preparing, whether it be in your 24-hour prep or on Saturday or even just before the round on Sunday, how much time did you and your excellent coach, Stephen Becker, who's a former combat competitor, how much did you guys spend on actual performance? Speaking, gesturing, moving, that kind of stuff. Did you spend any time?
Almost none. So we did not spend very much time on performance. The theory basically being you don't have time. Like you just have to write the content. And the thing I needed the most help on performance, I think that the time I spent leading up to the tournament and during the tournament working on this paid off was openings. I'm not an opener. It's not something I do. I got basically cleaned out on it in scrimmages. And so I knew I needed to spend time opening. So once we had everything written, we were like a little slower writing than we wanted to be. So once we had everything written by like 10 o'clock and we'd run some stuff, I spent most of my night memorizing and practicing my delivery for opening. So I hadn't really run this. I'd run this cross basically twice, like once in prep and then once in the other round.
Yeah, and it's really kind of unfair to be critical of anything performance-wise with a 24-hour prep. But one of the things that's really tough is, and I watched like my Top Gun round back and I see things that I did performance-wise. I'm like, I can't believe I sound like that, or I did this, or I did that with my hands. So I'm going to be nitpicky here for a second. But when you did this and I was watching, I thought it would have been really effective for you to, instead of doing 2 shots, 1 bottle of wine, 3 beers, instead to do two shots, 1 bottle of wine, 3 beers, the Jack and Coke, and to have all those fingers kind of up at once rather than one at a time. And those are kind of the really small details that I think if this were a regular season, you would have at some point watched it back and thought, that's going to look better if I do that. But you just don't have time in this format to like iron out those small details.
Yeah, I should have done that. That's a very good idea. I wish I had thought of that before. The one that kills me that I'll keep doing later in the cross is you'll see my eyes go up to my script, which is behind my computer. I'm like, I was memorized on some stuff, but not everything. And this cross is one of the things I wasn't as memorized on. So that's my performance tick that's been killing me as I watch the video back. It's just that my eyes. Yeah,
and that's really interesting. And maybe we'll save it for when we get to it, or maybe we won't. I think one of the things that's been really controversial this year, like across high school, college, law school, is the idea that some people are reading their material, or at least maybe reading their material at certain parts in the trial. Did you guys have any conversation about, is it better to read? Is it better to sit? Is it better to not read and wing it? Did you have any discussion internally as to what you guys were going to do?
Yeah, so by way of background, I'll say that what Tufts did this year almost exclusively was memorize. We did not like we in the fall. I mean, you have like in the fall it's the fall, but in the spring, like AMTA competitions, we didn't read. We were memorized mostly because we wanted everyone to learn how to memorize so that when we go back to in person, fingers crossed, we know how to do that. For this tournament, it's really hard to memorize everything in 24 hours. I had previously sat for my exams all year, but my coach thought it was better, and I agreed. I was more dynamic as a cross examiner when I was standing. I was lucky enough to be at home where my father, for his back, has a standing desk. So I used his standing desk for the tournament, and I was able to stand. But I hadn't really practiced completely memorized because I was able to, like, the way the room is set up, I was able to like tape the scripts up to the wall.
Right. And I think I agree with you that standing is preferred. And I think almost everyone stood at trial by combat. And I think was a smart strategy.
The green tea shots. Yes, sir.
3 cans of hard seltzer.
That's right.
An entire bottle of wine.
Yes, decoy wine. That's right.
2 beers.
Yes.
Sir, you know Jessica Marks personally ordered about half, right?
I think she did. They both ordered pretty much every time I was there. So I maybe.
Jessica Marks ordered about half. That's a yes to my question.
I'm not sure. I think they both ordered each time, but I couldn't tell you how many.
Sir, you believe, it's your understanding that Jessica Marks ordered about half of the drinks, right?
I can only tell you that they both ordered each time. I don't know which of those drinks were hers, so I couldn't tell you if half were hers. No.
So when he's giving you a hard time on the half thing, he keeps trying to get half from him. What's going through your head?
No, I mean, like, you never want to ask a question that you don't know the answer to. Like, you always want to know what's in the witness's statement. And then you can, like, you have the witness statement if they disagree or they try to weasel out of your question. You guys wrote 46-page depositions. I don't remember everything that was in that deposition. So like, that was a question in the cross. We have written it in. I thought it was in there. I knew it would take 2 minutes to impeach him and I would never be able to find the line. So I just kind of like kept asking it and I just moved on when he didn't really give me the answer I wanted.
Yeah, it's there. It was there. And it's understandable that you as the advocate, you guys only have so many minutes in the day. When I did Top Gun, my second chair cited everything and I just trusted her that it was going to be correct. And luckily the couple of times that I had to impeach it was, but it's easy to make mistakes. When I coached Top Gun this year, we had an incorrect site in one of our rounds that ended up biting us really badly in a round. And so it's really tough in the short prep. But I thought it was really interesting that Ben basically just like flat out denied it. Was like, nope, I don't know about the half, even though it was in there. I suspect he probably also was confused. You guys were just both not sure of yourselves given the short prep, and just he wasn't sure, you weren't sure, and you moved on. Is that kind of what happened?
I think so. I think even one of the reasons I was pretty sure was in there, like we weren't religious about the citations and the line numbering, which I mean, next year we will be. But if I had really committed and gone for the impeachment, like he was going to say, oh yeah, I think she had about half. Yeah, I said that. Like, I mean, what am I going to gain from that? I didn't, you got to pick and choose your battles. And I knew I was going to have to pick some battles with him later in the cross. And this just wasn't in hindsight, like maybe I should have picked this battle, but I'm pretty comfortable with my decision not to pick this battle. I wish I just hadn't asked the question.
I think it's a close call because earlier in your questioning, when you were asking these questions about half, he said, every time I went over, they both ordered. Okay, well, if that's true, then she has to have ordered half the drinks. I mean,
I almost did that. Like I almost went through that little 3-question mini pocket with him. I just didn't. I was like, I need my time. And the time ends up being a problem for me later in the cross. So I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, and I think the split second decision is a tough one to make. And especially in a situation like this where it's a close call, I think when it's close, generally don't impeach. I think as a general rule, so I had no issue with your decision. I thought it was a good one, but just an interesting kind of back and forth there.
Yeah. Regardless, Mr. Maida, you understand that Jessica Marks, she was 5 feet tall, right?
I love the way you say 5 feet tall. I don't know why. It's really fun.
That's my estimation. I think she looked about 5 feet to me.
Didn't look to be much over 100 pounds.
Maybe 110. I didn't pick her up and weigh her, but it sounds about right.
What a hilarious answer from Ben. Like, I can't believe you're asking me how much she weighed. What do you think? I picked her up and weighed her?
That was a good answer.
It's
It's just the way he says it too, like the accent he's doing. Like Ben's obviously fabulous, and like the accent works, but I don't know, like he said it, like the way he says it, it's like he's from Great Britain or like and New York City at the same time. Like,
yeah, not a clue. I thought Audrey made a really smart decision, and maybe you know this now in hindsight, but I'm sure you didn't know this at the time. Audrey had Ben as her son he met on round 4.
yeah, I knew that she did that.
So I think she just was comfortable with him and thought he did a good job in that round. It was a big round where she played Sydney Gaskins and she won the round in a closely fought round. And I just think she liked what he did and went back to him. And I thought it was smart.
It was a smart choice. I mean, we wanted D. If we'd gotten D, we would have gone with Sion the Rooker. Like he did a fantastic job also as our Sonny Meta in round 4.
Were you thinking about anybody else as your witness? And just for those who don't know, the 2 witnesses that you selected were Clay Owens played your expert, and who played your Levin? I'm not forgetting.
Montana Love played Levin. I'd seen Montana do it in round 4. I liked it. I've worked with her before, so I knew I could like depend on her, so I picked her. And then Clay, I mean, Clay and I are just friends. Like I'd seen his expert before. I liked his expert. I wanted to give him the chance to witness in a final round, and I knew we'd have fun. Like, and we have good chemistry, so I picked Clay for the other one.
Yeah, I thought all 3 witness choices were solid, and the three competitors did an excellent job.
You're telling the members of this jury that after you served that 5 foot tall girl over 9 drinks of alcohol, that table, she looked stone cold sober walking out of your bar?
That is I know I'm pausing way more than I probably thought I would. That is such a great demonstration of the importance of pacing on a big moment in cross.
Phil, I forgot the question. That's why I paced it like that.
I know that. I'm sure that happens. But like what I coach my students to do is you want to slow down on big moments, and really on all of your material, you want to be slow, but on big moments, especially because 1, it's just better, but 2, it gives you an opportunity to think about what the words are, to make sure you're getting them correct, to, slow things down. If the witness evades the question, you can kind of gather yourself for a witness control moment or whatever the case may be. And I understand that happened, but I think it worked out well for you. You sounded just so good delivering that line.
I mean, that's kind of what you have to do. This cross, you just kind of have to act right. Like he says he didn't serve her that much. He says he didn't see that much. You just kind of have to act incredulous. Like that's really the only way the cross works. Also, I think I phrased it wrong. I think I said she served 9 drinks, and he's about to say, no, I served the table 9 drinks.
Right.
Her up and weigh her, but it sounds about right.
You're telling the members of this jury that after you served that 5 foot tall girl over 9 drinks of alcohol, that table, she looked stone cold sober walking out of your bar?
Yes, sir. I mean, obviously, we can't judge a book by its cover. I don't cut somebody off because they're a woman or because they're small.
Sir, you were here today when an expert took the stand and
the way he said small was so funny. I was like, what is this accent, Ben?
A woman or because they're small.
Sir, you were here today when an expert took the stand and testified, right?
Yes, sir, I was here.
You heard Dr. Grimes say that her BAC must have been between 0.15 and 0.17.
I heard him say that, yes.
That's more than double the legal limit, right?
Yes, sir, it is.
Sir, you're telling us that when Jessica Marks walked out of that bar with that BAC, you thought she was stone cold sober?
That's right, sir. I can only tell you what I saw. While her friend maybe was a little sleepy, Jessica looked fine to me.
That's a yes. Can you pause it, Phil? Why did you write sleepy? Like that was the language in the deposition. Like he says the friend looks sleepy. Like why not just do that?
I'm gonna blame Justin and say he wrote it. I actually don't remember. It may have been. I think the way that we split it was Justin wrote the majority of the depositions, and I worked on a lot of the exhibits. And Justin has just way more case writing experience than I do, and so I was happy to be his sidekick in the case writing thing. But in this situation, it benefits me because I get to say I didn't write the word sleepy. He did.
No, I mean, that makes sense. It's just like the whole weekend long, it's like you would have Manus be like, yeah, she looked sleepy. I was like, what? Like, where did that come from? Like,
Yeah, I actually didn't remember because it's such a long case and it had been a while since we finalized that deposition. I didn't remember that was in there. And so when I heard it, I thought that it was like Ben getting into character, like saying like sleepy was part of like his New York thing. That was what I thought. But I guess we wrote it, so it's our fault, not Ben. Sorry, Ben.
it worked with the character.
It did.
Yes, sir.
So let's talk about all the opportunities you had to see how intoxicated Jessica was that night. Like you said on direct
Really good signpost there.
examination, you were the only person waiting tables, right?
That night. Yes, sir.
You were up at that table, like you said, 8 or 10 times. Isn't that true?
8 or 10 times, not 9, 8 or 10.
8 or 10, that's what's in there.
That's it.
At table 4. Yes, sir.
That's 8 to 10 times you were within feet of Jessica Marks, right?
That's right.
Now, Ms. Shepard brought up that video, and I'm glad she did, sir, because you saw in that video that Jessica Marks was displaying symptoms of intoxication, right?
I wouldn't necessarily say that. No.
Sir, you saw her with red eyes?
I couldn't really tell if her eyes were red. There seemed to be a glow from the camera. I couldn't see her eyes.
Certainly, sir, you saw she was slurring her words. She was having trouble sitting up straight, right?
From what I heard, maybe. I would have to talk to her. I'd have to look closer. I can't tell from the video.
Sir, do you want me to show you the video again?
If you'd like,
Okay,
sure.
Can you pause
Let's
it?
get that.
We had talked about just showing the witness the video. Like we basically, when we analyzed the case on first read through on Friday night, we were like, the video is the best piece of evidence for the plaintiff because the video, you can't argue with the video. Like she looks drunk in the video. And so we talked, we wanted the video on direct. We wrote it into the direct and we talked when Stephen was writing the cross. I got to give full credit to Stephen. Like Stephen wrote this cross. We talked about putting the video in the cross, but it takes time, right? Like it's what was it? 57 seconds, 37 seconds, some amount of seconds that's near a minute that you don't get back. That's not the attorney talking. And like the metas are going to be in court. You know, you just asked, did you see the video? And then you asked the questions, but it didn't have the same impact. I didn't want to show the video because I knew we didn't have time to get through the whole cross if I did show the video, because we timed it out with me showing the video and we would have to cut the last pocket if I showed the video. But he was kind of disagreeing. So I didn't this was not a place where I could not pick the battle. Like I had to commit. Like this was like the main part of the cross. I had to show the video here, I think.
Yeah, I think if you polled most people and what was the most memorable thing that happened in the round, everyone would say either the closing the cabinets or this, showing the video. There they are. They're the cabinets.
There they are.
We'll get
Yeah, and credit to Fatima. She had no idea I was gonna do that. Like she like I was just like, Miss Lowen, get the video, and it took her a second, and she got it up. Like she was ready. I couldn't have asked for a better second chair.
Video back up, Miss Lowen.
And she starts to panic here.
We'll need a second.
Your time.
Just one moment, Your Honor.
Hi everyone, Morgan and I are in Hollywood. We're in a bar. It's kind of like a film.
So for those of you who don't know, the person in the video, and this is a great screenshot of her, is my girlfriend and assistant, or one of our coaches. She's going to kill me for saying assistant. One of our coaches at Drexel, who coaches with me. And this video was shot on our balcony out there, just right outside of my apartment here in Philadelphia. And we did a lot of takes, and that's actual White Claw in the can. And so part of this was a little bit put on, but I think part of it was genuine. This was like later in the night where we finally got a take that we thought was good. After a lot of edits and texting videos back to Justin, what do you think of this? Now let's move that over there, or have her say this, or so this was later in the night. And I think she did a great job of acting, but after a bunch of takes, it wasn't really acting anymore. It was pretty genuine.
That's real.
bar, except everything is really, really expensive. $10 for a seltzer. And everyone here wants to be a model or an actress. You know, I'd like to thank the Academy. Mom and Dad, you've inspired me. Okay, well, go big or go home.
Mr. Mehta, it's your testimony. The person in that video doesn't look to be intoxicated.
I'm telling you that I can't say for sure. She looks like she might be, but I wouldn't say after watching that she was necessarily drunk. No.
Okay, Mr. Mehta. Regardless, you were around that table when that video was taken, weren't you?
I mean, I was there pretty much all night, so I would have been popping in and out. I don't know exactly when the video was taken, so I don't know.
You would have been on that rooftop bar within minutes of that video being posted, right?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for lack of personal knowledge. The witness just said he doesn't know when the video was taken.
I'm about to lay that foundation, Your Honor.
Sustained pending the foundation.
Could we get exhibits 15 and 16 on screen to authenticate it with the witness, constructively outside the sight of the jury?
Okay.
Sir, these are two pictures that were taken that night. You know that, right?
Yes, sir. I've seen these before.
They look to be fair and accurate.
To me, yes.
Yeah, I forgot.
We offer them
to
into
ask-
evidence.
I forgot to ask what they're pictures of, which is, important to authenticate photos. That was a mistake.
Yeah, I thought you rebounded nicely. I didn't think it hurt you. And I think this was, if it wasn't the video, this was the part of the cross that was the best. Then we'll see it in a second, but the part with the 21 minutes was just devastating.
I mean, this is really like Steve is a genius. Like this, Steve, it was later in the night. He'd written the cross. We were editing and Steve was like, I thought of something really smart. We know they were at the table within 21 minutes because the tables look different. And yeah, this is all Steve. Like the guy is just so damn smart.
Yeah, he's an excellent competitor for Harvard Law that I have been lucky enough to not run into, but I have a feeling that's going to change this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's not graduated yet, right?
No, he was a 1L this year. So
Right.
he'll be around. Yeah, he'll be around for 2 years.
That's great. Great for Drexel. Yeah, they're just really genius, really, really, really smart. I thought it was devastating. We'll see it in a second. Any objection?
Your Honor, there's a lack of foundation as to who took these pictures, if they accurately depict what was actually happening. So lack of foundation.
Mr.
I can ask one more question, Your Honor.
All right.
Sir, what do these pictures show?
They show a couple drinks on a table.
And you understand, sir, that this is Jessica Marks's tape, right?
Objection, Your Honor. Counsel's testifying.
Overruled.
Can you
I
want
can
me to-
read it. Yes,
Sure.
sir. You understand that's Jessica Marks's table, yes or no?
That's what they told me, yes. And that looks like table 4.
We offer it now, Your Honor.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. Still lack of foundation, specifically under 901. Your Honor, in order for them to move this into evidence, they have to offer evidence that's supporting the fact that this purports accurately what they claim it depicts. Now, they can tell us that this is a picture of a table. They can tell it was the table that they were.
Now, there were stipulations about these photos in the case as to when they were taken and that kind of thing. In this moment, given that you had only had the case, and you probably only read it like once, if that, were you confident what the stipulation said? How, like,
Yeah. I knew what the stipulation said. I had the stipulation up. I knew it didn't say it was the table. It said it was taken from Morgan Levin's phone at 10 such and such a time. And that was all that the stipulation said. But that combined with the testimony from combined with his testimony that it looks like table 4 and that he was like, that's sufficient to support a finding. Like I was pretty confident that I had laid enough foundation to authenticate the photos. But I do something here that to all the people watching at home, never ever do this in a mock trial round. It's a bad thing to do. I'll say I did it. I was just kind of I was just annoyed. Like I thought I was losing the trial because of the close the cabinets, and I was just like undisciplined, and I thought I needed to do something big and like to make a splash to like get my momentum back. So I tried this, and it was not a smart plan.
So why don't you, for those who are really living under a rock and not only didn't see the round, but didn't see the memes or anything like that, when you say they close the cabinets, tell us what you mean.
Yeah, so I had these cabinets up here, and in the opening, I had like some of the drinks from the case.
And there they are. They're still there.
Yeah, I have not
Oh,
consumed.
man.
Yeah, we went to the liquor store and we got like the beer from the case is the exact same beer. I basically
I have to ask you because I have to say the tournament staff was like debating this internally the whole weekend. Did you guys halt your prep and go to the store to buy that stuff?
delivering.
Okay.
Yeah,
Still,
delivering.
you purchased it for this tournament.
Yeah, and we bought it early. We bought it early in the day. We knew we wanted to do the demo like 2 hours into prep. But I'll say what happened was I did the demo in the first direct, and I don't think this question was in our expert script, but I reached one question too far on the expert direct. I opened the cabinet and I said, "Isn't it like what would the symptoms be like if someone who drank this much alcohol?" And Audrey made a really good like objection that the expert can't say that because it's misleading. We don't know if this is the same alcohol that was in Jessica Marks' system that night, of course, and she won the objection. And I sort of thought I could keep directing and keep the cabinet open. And Audrey just sort of, after I asked one more question, Audrey was like, "Quick point of order, Your Honor, can he close the cabinet?" And I turned around and closed it. It was a really close round. Audrey was fantastic. I lost by one check on one ballot, but I'll say that in that moment, I knew that I lost. Like I was pretty sure that when I had to close the cabinet, it was over.
Yeah, and to your point, it probably wasn't over given how close the round was. But at least you were a part of what I think is going to be in the same category as like the Dan Stern being in the back of the courtroom with the tape measure in the 2016 final round and like things like that in big moments in mock trial folklore. Like this is going to be one of them.
I hope. But yeah, I say she's arguing in bad faith and she's not, and it was not a good thing to say.
Okay, we'll watch it.
On March 24th. But quite frankly, Your Honor, these days we have abilities with video editing, picture editing. We can't say without foundation on the record whether or not that accurately depicts what was happening on March 24th, and therefore we lack foundation under 901.
May I respond to that, Your Honor?
Before you do, Ms. Shepard, what foundation would be sufficient in your view?
Specifically, that this accurately depicts the scene at that time and what it was like on March 24th at those moments.
Response.
Okay, Mr. Demsky.
Your Honor, we believe this objection to be in bad faith. We've stipulated already with opposing counsel that these were photos taken that night at specific times from Morgan Levin's phone. This witness just testified that this looks to be the table from that night. There's no more foundation that needs to be laid pursuant to 901.
May I be heard?
Sure.
Your Honor, I agree we stipulated to the timestamps, but there's a difference between a timestamp and an authentic depiction. I understand that it's a specific objection, Your Honor, but I do believe it's important, given that opposing counsel's line of questioning is specific to what this witness saw and didn't see at particular moments on that table.
Brief response. I feel like Phil, your ruling now was very fair, which is like I was right. Like I didn't misquote the stipulation. Like that's what the stipulation says. Like, and it is enough evidence sufficient to support a finding. It just was not in bad faith either.
Yeah, I guess I understood her point, but and I hope maybe you don't feel this way having been in a realm where I was presiding, but whenever I preside, I try to be not interventionist and I try to not do things unless I'm prompted to intervene. But I felt like I needed to address the bad faith thing.
Yeah.
In some way.
I understood why. Like, yeah, I thought that you were a fair presider the whole time, but yeah, I understood why you needed to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't want to, I think some judges may not care about that and may actually have liked that you were aggressive in calling her out for what you perceive to be not bad faith, but like, and gamesmanship is the wrong word too, but just like an argument that you didn't feel was appropriate in that specific situation. I think I was probably somewhere in the middle, but some judges may get very upset by that, as I think you probably realized when you said it. And so I felt like I wanted to at least address the fact that you said it without putting my thumb on the scale too much.
Yeah.
That was kind of my thought. I thought it ended up working out fine. Sure. And then I have a question, but go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. They stipulated that it was from Morgan Levin's phone, that it was taken on that night. This witness just testified that it looks to be the table where they were. Certainly, Your Honor, that is sufficient to support a finding by Your Honor by a preponderance of the evidence that these pictures are what they purport to be.
Will this witness say, if asked, that he saw the table and it looked like this at some point that night?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So I understand Ms. Shepard's point. I don't agree that it's an objection in bad faith. I understand the objection and it's well taken. However, I do agree with Mr. Demsky that the showing for authentication is relatively low. And that was the thing. Like I understood what Audrey was saying, but I thought, like, this guy was serving the drinks that night. Like he said earlier in the cross that he was going over every time, and the thing with the half, and like every time he went over and served the drinks, like obviously he would have been at the table and have shown a photo of the table with the drinks on it that he served. He would know that. And I thought it was a smart argument by Audrey, but it's a little too nuanced. And I would have just probably disregarded it if I didn't have to address the bad faith thing.
And she had Ben too, who's an excellent witness. And like, it's funny because most of this tournament, right, like you get the witnesses are pretty agreeable on cross because everyone wants to win the credibility check mark. And, you know, you're not witnessing for the side that your attorney is on, right? You're just trying to win witness points against the other witness. So people are generally pretty agreeable. In the final round, you know, like the witness is trying to make sure their advocate wins. And so Ben, when asked that question, is like, is this the table? He's like, I was told that it is. It's like when in the deposition, I think he's shown the table and says like, yeah, I recognize the table, right? Like, so there's some amount of gamesmanship going on there, but like it was definitely a clever objection.
Right. And if you had more time, and you were able to watch this back and critique yourself, you know, a fun control there might be not just that you were told it was that table, you actually saw this table that night. You saw this table with the beer, the White Claw, the Jack and Coke, all this alcohol. You saw that with your eyes, right, sir? That night, before she got in the car, before she turned on the engine, before she got into that accident. You know, you could have had a lot of fun with it. But again, the 24 hours prep is just tough because all those little things that you get to work on over the months in the season, you just don't get to fine tune. And it's really, really, really difficult. And it can be frustrating. Like when I watch my final round back, I'm literally like slurring my words because I'm so tired. And I'm doing things that I just didn't do in rounds that year. And it's frustrating because that is the only round that people will ever see me do online. And so it can be tough with the short prep. So I give you a lot of credit for doing as well as you did with the short prep without having to, and having not done this cross for what, like a day and a half, something like that.
Well, I'd run it right before the round. But yeah, since the day before. Yeah.
I think we can see Miss Marks in the photo there, or yeah, Miss Marks, excuse me, in the photos there. And Mr. Demsky, to the extent that you can ask this witness to just tie up, I think this loose end, I think this would get at Miss Shepard's concern that when he served the drinks that night, this is the way the table appeared to look. This was what was on the table at some point in time that night. And if you can ask that question, I think everyone will be content. So why don't you go ahead and do that? I'll overrule the objection for now.
Yes, Your Honor. Sir, you saw the table look like this that night. Isn't that true?
That's right. I would have brought those drinks myself.
Your Honor, could we put the stipulated timestamps for these photos up on screen for the members of the jury?
Ms. Shepard, you have any
No
objection?
problem. No problem with that, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Sir, the first picture was taken at 10:57, the second at 11:32, and that video watched before was stipulated to be taken, posted at 11:11. You would agree with me. That means both of these pictures were taken within 21 minutes of when that video was posted, right?
I think your math checks out. Yes, absolutely.
Also a hilarious screenshot of Jess. You guys found the most ridiculous one and you made that the picture.
Yep.
Sure, she appreciated it.
Within 21 minutes of when that video was posted, you went up to this table and you refilled the water carafe, right?
That would probably be right.
Within 21 minutes of that video, you went up to that table and you removed the chips and guacamole?
That's right.
Within 21 minutes of when this video was posted, you went up and you took the wine glass away, right?
That's right. Yes, sir.
Within 21 minutes, sir, you went up to that table and you refilled the beer.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mehta. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Redirect. That was just a devastating cross. And I'm actually teaching cross-examination to my new students tonight. And I taught throughout the examination last night. But one of the things that I told them was, and you know this from your years of experience, when you end an exam, you always want to end on your biggest moment. And this was such a big moment, not just because it was obviously persuasive, but because it's kind of almost like a gotcha moment, like especially for someone who's not familiar with the witness statement. It was such a powerful kind of gotcha. Bennett had been saying the entire cross, I don't know, I didn't think she was drunk. The video, who knows? I'd have to like weigh her on a scale, like all the stuff that he was saying. And then to show this picture to demonstrate that he had actually been at the table within minutes of that video where she looks crazy, it was just super effective. I think this would have been a plaintiff verdict. It was not because Audrey did anything wrong, but because this moment in cross, I don't know how you combat this, no pun intended.
Yeah, this was a great moment in cross. I agree. I mean, we had another. I paused a little long. I paused for a good amount before saying no further questions. Normally, I should pause for that long, but normally I end a little faster. I was thinking about whether or not I had time to do the last pocket. I didn't. We had another pocket, and Steve, I'm sorry if you're watching this. The last pocket, while good, is not as good as this pocket. And so I liked, like, I don't think I understood that in the moment that ending here was better and I had to end here. But in hindsight, I'm very glad that I ended it here. Cause this is just like, this was really smart by Steven. Like, this was just a great point. And like, not to talk too much about strategy, but like, I think one of the things that differentiates at trial by combat is it's like just doing content differently than other people and like thinking of things that other people don't think of. Like you saw that like Stephen Johnson used the autopsy in a very clever way in 2019. I can't think of other examples right off the top of my head, but like I watched some of the other rounds and like I didn't really see anyone make this point. I just thought that like this was just such a smart point for Steve to have come up with.
It was really smart. I don't know that anyone else did it, but I didn't see anyone else do it. And so I just thought it was really smart. And I think to the extent that you lost ground with the close the cabinet thing, I think this made it really close. And to the extent that any judges were on the fence, this was the point in time where they probably thought, I don't know where I'm going to go with my ballot here. And so kudos to you, kudos to Steve. And the other thing I would just say about your comment about ending it here, one of the things that I think people don't do enough of is they have their script on cross. And I tell the teams that I coach, if you are murdering the witness and you're like 60% through, just stop. It's over. Sit down. Nobody cares about the last 40%. You can't get higher than a 10. Like you can only get a 10. Like you can't get an 11. So just stop and sit down. And so I thought it sounds like you made a calculated decision in this moment to just end the cross, which is so incredibly smart. And like I said, I think to the extent that it was a close round, which it was, this decision was why.
I'll take the compliment. I will say what happened was I got a message from my second chair Fatima that was, stop, you only have 6 minutes and 45 seconds left for closing or something like that.
Well, regardless, having a good second chair is also smart. So you get credit for that nonetheless.
Yeah.
I told you we were going to try to keep this under 30 minutes. We woefully failed because there's so much to talk about. And we could talk more about this. We could talk about this for hours, I think, but that way you can get some more sleep. I'll stop it there. I just want to say before I let you go, first off, thanks for doing this. I think this is going to be a lot of fun for people to watch. And more importantly than that, just congratulations. Like this is going to be something that people get to watch forever. And like you told me before we signed on here, you were watching videos when you were a freshman of the great competitors. And for years and years and years, people are going to be watching you and studying what you did and trying to duplicate the choices that you made. And I just think that's super, super cool. And you should be really proud of that.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. I mean, yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you for having me on. It was so cool to come on and talk about it. And I love that you're starting this. And I was very, very happy to be a part of it.
Yeah. Tell everyone what you're up to this summer.
I'm not doing much. I'm just taking the LSAT basically. I'm doing some work in Boston. Hopefully trying to go to law school after college at some point.
And one more year at Tufts, and you guys are gonna, I would assume, be one of the favorites for the national championship next year.
That's the goal. We want the big trophy. That's the goal. We're gonna do everything in our power to get the big trophy.
Well, I'm super excited. Something tells me you got a great shot at being invited to trial by combat next year. And thank you so much for being on. And just one last thing before I let you go. A year from now, when you're deciding on law schools, I know a great school in Philadelphia that would love to have you. And so I'm sure we'll be talking.
We'll talk. We'll talk.
Thanks so much, Bennett. Thanks everyone for watching. To the extent that there's a video or around that you want us to watch or a guest that you want us to have on, it'll be tough to top Bennett, but we'll try. Leave it in the comments and we'll do our best to get to as many of them as we can. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you next time.